Damba is a festival celebrated by the people of Mole, Dagomba ethnic group. And it is basically to commemorate the birth of the holy prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Damba is celebrated in the third month of the Islamic calendar. When the moon is sighted, it is the Ida Mole who officially informed the Yana that the moon has been sighted. When the moon is sighted, the Napaba or the wives of the various chiefs and even the king begin practicing the Damba songs. It gives us an opportunity to highlight and showcase our traditions. You cannot even identify who a Dagomba is, who a Nanumba is, who a Mampruli is, who a Waali is. So we have food, we have the dance, we have the songs, even how we dress. Once drummers come and you tell them that you want the Damba dance, there's a beat for it. Yes, we have Damba. There's a beat for it. There's Shinkafa Gambo, and there's Banchara Damba, there's Somo Damba, there's Na Damba, and there's Bielkulsi. From the first day to the 10th day is usually when we have the minor activities. On the 10th day, we have the Somo Damba.
Okay, so welcome to another exciting episode of Prince Amdan podcast. Today we are talking about a very important conversation. We are talking about Damba, and I'm excited to have my brother with me to tell us a lot more about Damba. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard about Damba and all the other things that comes with it. But there are a lot of us who do not really know what Damba is and the activities, what they really mean, their significance, and how we can make Damba a festival that will attract a lot of people who are not even Dagombas or are not from the north to actually, celebrate with us. So I have my brother Yunus in the building, and my name is Prince Amdan. So, bro, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
It's been It's been a while. We've been looking forward to having this conversation, but up and down, runnings here and there, and all of that.
Actually, you've been available, but it's just me who hasn't really been available like that.
And I'm excited
we are here.
We're having this conversation today, and I think it is our responsibility as young people to put some of these things to the public domain for people to have a feel or understand what these things are. First of all, when we say Damba, in a layman's or with somebody who, is not from the north, and I'm even sure some of us still needs an explanation to what Damba is. So when we say Damba, what is Damba?
All right, so basically, Damba is a festival celebrated by the people of Mole, Dagomba ethnic group. When we talk about Mole, Dagomba ethnic group, we talk about the Dagombas, we talk about the Mamprusis, and we talk about the Nanumbas. In fact, Damba is also celebrated by the Waala people who are part of the Mole Dagomba ethnic group. Even as far as the Musis also celebrated, and our brothers from Gonjaland also celebrated. We are one people, but except that when we talk about the Mole Dagomba ethnic group, we usually do not include the Gonjas because they are from the Mandi tribe. So Damba is celebrated by these people, and it is basically to commemorate the birth of the holy prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Basically that's what
that's it. But what is its significance to the people in this day and age?
Well, in a day-to-day, I would say that it gives us an opportunity to highlight and showcase our traditions. When we talk about culture and tradition, the Mole Dagomba ethnic group by far would have the best traditions, not just in Ghana, but in West Africa and Africa at large. So this gives us an opportunity to showcase our culture, you realize that the package of Damba, the Damba festival, is such that it includes our food, the food we eat. That's why there's shinkafa gahambo. The songs we sing. So when the moon is sighted, the Napaba or the wives of the various chiefs and even the king begin practicing the Damba songs. The dance or dances, I mean, there are a whole lot of dances. We have a dance, a traditional dance known as Damba. So when especially if you are a Dagomba or from the Mole Dagomba ethnic group, once drummers come and you tell them that you want the Damba dance, there's a beat for it. Yes. We have Ugucha Damba. There's a beat for it. We have a whole lot of dances around the Damba festival. It also showcases our dance or the various dance categories we have. So we have food, we have the dance, we have the songs, even how we dress.
Way of dressing, just
exactly.
as I'm beautifully,
just like you are beautiful
in my
exactly.
smoke and my hat.
Especially on the day of the main Damba, that's the Damba. You see people from all walks of life dressing in their best outfits just to suit the occasion. So all these are, and of course, it also brings us together. So during this festival, you cannot even identify who a Dagomba is, who a Nanumba is, who a Mampruli is, who a Waali is. We all come together as one people to celebrate. And of course, it reminds us of the Holy Prophet of Islam, his contributions to the development of mankind and the good virtues he lived. Everything around the life of Prophet Muhammad is celebrated around this time, and it keeps us reminded about him, and therefore keeps us reminded about the need for us to be moral, to be just, and to be pious
and upright.
And upright,
Absolutely. And particularly with regards to the unity, I remember last year, Damba, I interviewed a couple of people, and what most of them were excited about was the fact that you see a lot of people from different walks of life coming together, putting their differences aside, and celebrating Damba. And for me, I think that is one of the things that stands out. There are a lot. We all know what we've gone through as a people over the years, and these are some of the things that are able to reunite us and bring us together as a people. But when is Damba celebrated usually?
All right, so Damba is celebrated in the third month of the
Islamic calendar.
So in Dagbani, when I say Dagbani, not just the modern day Dagbani, but the entire
Mole group.
Mole Dagomba ethnic group area. In Dagbani, we celebrate Damba in the month of Damba. So there's actually
a month called Damba.
A month called Damba in Dagbani. So it begins from the first day of the sighting of the moon to the 18th day. So from the first day, you have the Yidam Mole officially going to tell or inform the Yana, the king of Dagbani, or the king of Mampruli or the king of Nanu about the sighting of the moon. So the Yana may have seen the moon, but until the Yidam Mole officially informs him that the moon has been sighted, then there's no Damba moon.
And the Yidam Mole is the I think the chief cleric.
Yes. He's the chief. So the Yidam Mole, yes, is the chief cleric.
Okay.
There's a history behind the Yidam Mole. I don't know if we have time.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So talk about it. During the reign of Natutore, he was the 12th Yana of Dagbani.
Yes.
During his era, he decided to move the capital from Yandabare today it is called Waali.
Wow, yes.
It is located westwards of Diele.
DL, yeah.
Yes. So Diele is just a few kilometers up north from Tamale. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the original Yendi used to be at Waali, where we call Waali today. So we call it Yendabare. Yendabare simply means abandoned Yene or Yendi. Yes. So that's where Dagbani was. But because of incessant attacks and other security reasons, the Yana then, Natutore, decided to move Yendi from the old Yendi to where it is presently.
Currently.
Yes. So when he was moving with his entourage to the new Yendi. He encountered what we call the Labansi today. So the Labansi originally, we are told they have an Arab descendants. So they were basically Arabs who had also migrated for business to spread the word of Islam and others. So he encountered them. So when he encountered them, they assimilated. There was no much resistance. So they connected, and he thought that this particular group of people would, help in the development of his kingdom. And so he gave them an area. And once he gave them an area, he thought that there was the need to give them some kind of recognition at the Biwa Palace. So it was true that the Yidam Mole.
Yes.
So the Mole, if you translate it, Mole is Moshi.
Okay.
Right. So aside the fact that they were Arabs, they also had the Moshis around. So the Moshis were also Muslims. Right. So he incorporated. So we have the Yidam Mole, we have other Yidanama. Yes, we have the Labansi. The Labansi basically are Larbanga or Larbawanama.
Okay.
So that's the corrupted version of it. Yeah. So
which means the Arabs.
Yeah. So the Yidam Mole. So because they were Muslims, during the reign of Natutore, of course, if you read books, there are some that will tell you that Damba started under the reign of Nazanjina. That was about 4 Yana before, after Natutore. But that's not actually correct.
Okay.
Before Nazanjina, Natutore, the 12th Yana, under his reign, Damba was celebrated in the form of Maulid. Present day, we call it Maulid. So the Muslims, when it is time for the celebration of the birth of the Prophet, they will just come together and have a feast, recite the Quran, and do one or two things just to celebrate the birth of the Prophet. Yes, so it was something that wasn't against Dagbani culture and traditions. So at that time, even though the Yidam Mole from the Moshi group had some kind of recognition, Damba wasn't celebrated as it is celebrated today. Yes, so that's where the Yidam Mole came.
Okay.
So when the moon is sighted, it is the Yidam Mole who officially informed the Yana that the moon has been sighted. Then the Napaba begin to learn the songs. They call it Dambayila, the songs of Damba. So after learning, there's Shinkafa Gambo, and there's Banchara Damba, there's Sumo Damba, there's Na Damba, and there's Bielkulsi. So from the first day to the 10th day is usually when we have the minor activities. On the 10th day, we have the Sumo Damba. Yes, the Sumo Damba, basically, Sumo is another title that was coined for the Muslim group at that time. So you realize that the Sumo Damba is before the Somo Damba, there's Quran recitation,
Teachings,
there's the slaughtering of the cow for sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
In line with Islamic traditions, right? So that was how Somo Damba also came
about. Okay.
Well, I should have explained the Banchara Damba.
Okay.
So the Banchara Damba
Comes
will
before
come
the Somo.
before the
Okay,
Somo
okay.
Damba. So
All
the
right.
Banchara Damba is just a practice of the main events to come.
Yeah.
So they call it Banchara or rag because on that day you don't wear the best
Yeah.
smocks or the best outfits. You just wear something casual.
Just to
learn,
or to practice.
or practice the various dances
for the climax of the
exactly,
Damba.
exactly. So that's why they call it Banchara,
Okay.
a Damba. So after that comes the Somo Damba. Then a week later we have the Na Damba.
Damba.
So the Na Damba, I told you that Damba was incorporated into Dagbon traditions, not by Na Tutore. Na Tutore came, then Na Zale came, then Na Zwelkole came, Na Gungoble came, and then Na Zanjina came. So when Na Zanjina came, remember when you are reading about Islam in Dagbon, they will even tell you that he was the first. Islam was introduced to Dagombas during the reign of Na Zanjina. That's also
not true.
Not true.
Okay.
But he accepted Islam
wholeheartedly
and incorporated it into the traditions and cultures of Dagbon. So it was under his reign that he thought that what the Labansi and the Moshis were celebrating, the Muslims were celebrating, was something good. So he adopted it and made it what? A festival. So that's how come a lot of people think that it was Na Zanjina who actually started the celebration of Damba, or it was under him that Damba was celebrated. But Damba was celebrated in a low-key form before he came. So you realize from Na Tutore, there were about 4 Yananima before Na Zanjina, and that's about 70 years or 80 years in between them. So it was long celebrated, but on a very small scale. Yes. So when Na Zanjina came, they incorporated Damba fully into the cultures of Dagbon. But Na Damba, before then, Na Damba wasn't celebrated, so it was just the Somo Damba and then the activities end. But when Na Garba the first, currently we have Na Garba the second. So when Na Garba the first came in 1700, he introduced the Na Damba. So that was where we had the full cultural aspect of Damba coming into or fused into the original Damba. So you realize even Somo Damba was celebrated by the Islamic group. But he thought that no, it was time for Dagombas to make the festival, to own the festival. And to own it, the king himself has to be part of the celebration. And so that's how come Na Garba brought in Na Damba.
And hence the name Na Damba.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so Na Damba basically means the king's Damba. Yeah. So on this day, you have very little Islamic participation.
Activities.
Yeah, apart from the morning where they just slaughter the cow and recite Quran, there's nothing else the Muslims do. So they do it in the morning. Then late afternoon, there will be a Deba, a grand Deba, where the king himself will be there, his court will be there, his paramount chiefs will be there, the general public will be there in their best outfits to celebrate,
showcase.
And to showcase the culture in its authentic form. Yes. Then the next day after Na Damba, we do the Bielkulsi. Bielkulsi basically means sending Damba home. Yes, more like we are just
farewell to them.
bidding farewell to Damba. So on Biakulisi, again, the paramount chiefs will come around, and then there's also a program of activity. So Damba, we realize that in Tamale, when the paramount chiefs come, they say hello to the Dapyama, and then they bid farewell to the Damba at Zongona's house. So in an area where you don't have a Zango chief, the bidding or the farewell bidding will just be done at a chief who is not originally a Dagomba chief.
So any chief who is around but not a Dagomba chief.
Exactly. So it can be, for instance, a Yoruba chief, for instance, an Igbo chief. Once there's
Ashanti chief.
Yeah, you know, everywhere around the world we have representatives of other traditional leaders. You know, so they just identify one
of them.
Yes, and then bid the farewell to and then Damba ends. But you realize that Nagarba II, under whose reign we are, has tried to bring some changes, not changes that would be negative for it, but positive changes to Dagbani. I mean the Damba. Festival. So this time around, even after Bielkulisi, we are going to have a football match between the playmates, the villagers of Kumbungu, and the town guys from
Savanna. Come after you.
So these are the innovations.
If you don't understand, I mean, the joke you just made, there's this play like between the people of Kumbungu and then Savlugu.
Yes.
Can you get into that play between the two? I mean,
well. The Dagbani is such that we have different versions of history. So if you listen to some Lunsi or dramas, they will tell you that that playmate kind of thing came about as a result of in Dagbani, your cousin.
Yeah.
So your cousin from
your mother's side.
Your mother's side.
It's your playmate.
Yes, it's your playmate.
Yes.
So that they were cousins. But others have it that during the era where, there was wars and stuff, there was this dispute between the Savlugu people and the Kumbungu people. And I think, I don't want to say who won.
Because
I don't want to say who won. But something of that sort. So they had to more like make the other a slave of a sort.
Okay.
Right? Then after some time, when there was peace, they decided to come together. In fact, through the
take advantage of that
to become
reunite
reunited and become playmates. So there are different versions
stories,
of it. Yeah. So, but what is established is that they are playmates, right?
Yeah.
And they usually tease each other and downplaying.
And it actually makes it interesting.
Yeah. I have a part of my family coming from Savlugu, so of course I sympathize with the city folks from Savlugu as against the villagers from Kumbu.
See, everybody know where he belongs. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Damba, because which of course is the climax of the event. What are some of the activities, that are, for example, the evening, that, we see a lot of people come out, we see the king or the chief come out. What can you take us through, like, the event for Damba?
Well, basically, it is, so there are a whole lot of traditional events that we may not be able to
elaborate.
But what is paramount is that usually, because we are largely Muslims, usually after Asr prayers, then the Deba begin. So in the morning, like I said earlier, there are some Islamic activities that will happen. Then afterwards, it will be pomp and pageantry, drumming and dancing till around after Asr. So that's around 3:30 to 4 thereabouts. Then the king will sit in state with his wives, then Apaba, with his chiefs, the sub-chiefs or paramount chiefs, with, everyone who matters in Dagbani, including those of us who are just ordinary citizens. So all of us come out to dance.
To either participate or observe.
There's another interesting aspect of the Damba, where you see the Nachina, so the youth chief organizes horse riders, and they come around, display their skills. Horse riding is part of the skills usually in Rabia is supposed to have before you can, really boast that you are in Rabia. Because even on the day of Nadamba, you may ride your horse, have, fun. Even on Biakulisi, maybe the king would not ride, but all his paramount chiefs
come around in horses.
To come around with horses. There's some kind of weight you add to yourself as either a sub-chief, a divisional chief, a paramount chief, if you are able to ride the horse. So if you look at the background of the current king, Diana, one of his notable skills is horse riding par excellence. We are told that he probably is the best horse rider in the entire Dagbani currently as we speak. Yes. And he achieved that over a very long period of time. Training and stuff like that. So it is part of the culture that you know how to ride. So people who know how to ride would come out on the day of Nadamba to display the skills they have acquired, and it is all part of the celebration.
And the dance and showcasing your best, Northern or Dagbani costume, Dagomba costume you have, the smoke and all of that. And also, I think we must state clearly that it is for people who don't know the demography very well. Usually it is largely celebrated along every community in the Dagbani. It's not only in the kingdom, in Yendi, in Tamale, at the Piama Palace,
even at the palaces of sub-chiefs.
It is celebrated in all of those places. And one of the things that I was excited about in the last Damba was when I saw even kids, coming out with their smokes and displaying the culture and all of that.
We have to be deliberate in how we brand the Damba festival. That's why I always say that whoever came up with the idea of the hashtag, the smoke challenge, so you wear your best outfit, take a picture of yourself or a video of yourself and put it on social media and challenge others to also do it.
But would you say that over the years we've not really been very intentional about promoting our culture and our traditions? Because elsewhere some of these things are even telecasted on national television, but it doesn't seem so here.
That's true. We haven't been intentional, and that's because over the years, unfortunately, we have had to deal with
challenges and
a lot of challenges. The media wasn't that popular, let's say 20 years ago, than it is today, and at that time, in the early 2000s or the late 90s, it would have even been difficult to get a TV station
absolutely,
to carry all their analog equipment from Accra to Dagbani to telecast. They didn't even have OB, outside broadcasting equipment like that. And so it was, genuinely difficult. unless of course we're going to be taking the king to someone else's kingdom to celebrate it, and that would have not,
doesn't make sense.
Made sense. When the media was becoming popular and popular, unfortunately, that was a period we were having our own issues to deal with, and as long as we were divided, we couldn't have come together, to celebrate the festival together. So we realized that since 2019, there's been a lot of reforms. The king has been trying to do a lot of things. I remember, was it 2019 or 2020? It was shown live on TV. He invited the president to come in to join in the celebration and all those. It was all part of the reforms to make Damba better. And we realized that this year as well, the king, and when I say the king, I'm referring to the king of modern day Dagbani. Of course, if you look at the Mole Dagomba ethnic group, it does appear as though the Dagbani king is the face of it, right? So if he does something, it has a rippling effect on all the other kingdoms we have under the Mole Dagbani group. And so now that we have Diana taking up initiatives, reforming the Damba festival, we've seen what the likes of DJ Carlos and co came together to do. All these are part of efforts to brand the Damba festival. But I still think that we could have done a bit more, because we have about 3 or 4 TV stations in Dagbani now, and I don't know if there's an arrangement for at least one to have it live on their network. We have a whole lot of radio stations in Damali alone. We have over 20 radio stations. How many have deliberately,
been talking about
Damba or having programs around Damba? To be honest, I think it is only Diamond FM that has that
intentional
initiative just to help it to promote the Damba festival. They have their DDF, Diamond Damba Festival, where there are a lot of activities, So we can do more as media people. We can do more as ordinary citizens, and even as traditional leaders, we can do more than we are doing. We should not leave everything in the hands of the king to handle. I mean, some of these things, I usually say that we can do it once they are good things. We can do it without necessarily involving the king himself. When we do it and it is good,
you involve himself.
Exactly. I mean, it is not always the case that we should always be involving the king. He's at the apex of everything.
Leadership and everything about the festivals.
So it's just like, for instance, a DC wants to promote his district, and he's looking for the president to come and do it for him. You see?
Yeah.
So as traditional leaders in our own communities, we can be taking up such initiatives. But on a larger scale, I believe that intentionally, we could be having a Damba na Damba, where it is celebrated annually in different towns and communities. So, for instance, this year, we decided to celebrate it at the seat of a government. That's Dagbani government. That's in Yendi. Next year, we say all of us, the king, the paramount chiefs, everyone, moves to Tamale to celebrate it. Then the coming year, we move to Savlugu. We move to where? Kumbungu. And we rotate it. I think
it will even... Kumbungu?
Kumbungu is just a hamlet around Dala. So it's not very important like that. I'm talking about important towns and cities. So we could be moving it. And once we are moving it, it could have opened up places, villages like Kumbongo. You get it? When we have the whole Dagbon, government going to Kumbongo. Tourists will go there.
And I think that's actually a very solid point, because it makes it, big.
Exactly.
Like, rather than it being separate, some people don't even know where to go.
And
but
that's
once
the point.
it's at a particular place, everybody is going
because
there.
This year there are a whole lot of activities in Yendi, but you have the celebration also
going on in other places.
Than
so
in Tamale.
They wouldn't.
For instance, someone traveling from Accra to
get
come
to Tamale
purposely because of Damba will most likely remain in Tamale. Because whatever he wants to see,
he will see it in
Tamale. But if we make it deliberate, this year the entire Dagbon will be celebrating Damba, say at Gushegu.
Yeah, everybody
will go there.
Yeah,
we know that the Yana doesn't meet some of his paramount chiefs once he's a Yana, but we could have found a way around that, right? So that can still be done, even if, for instance, if he doesn't meet the Kapaile chief, we call him the Gumana. The Yana doesn't meet him once he's on the throne. So if we are even going to celebrate it at Gumani, let's say that day, just only the Gumana traveling out of town to give way for the king to come into his community and celebrate the Damba with the people.
I think we could even actually excuse some of these communities that he's not supposed to go.
Or even in the case of the Yagbonwura. I think the Yagbonwura and the Bupewura do not see each other. But when they are sitting, those days when the House of Chiefs
have a meeting
was in Tamale. I mean, the bigger northern region, the entire region was in Tamale, where the Gonja Traditional Council was part of the Northern Regional House of Chiefs. When the Yagbonwura comes, there's usually they just partition where he is so that he doesn't see the Bupewura. Yeah. So we could have done similar if we have to do it, so that we know that this year the entire Dagbon is celebrating Damba in this community or in this town or in this city. It opens up, the community. It would have opened up the communities. It would have given people more of our authentic culture. The big cities like Tamale, like Yendi, we have adulterated the culture. But when you go to the typical Dagbon communities we have today, you still have these cultures and traditions
in its authentic form.
So that would have given people the opportunity to see the real Dagbon culture, and in terms of business-wise, it would have been boosting because it's a week-long activity. So imagine the Yana, the paramount chiefs, his wives, the entire people of Dagbon, government delegation, say, move to DL for Damba. You can imagine the kind of, boost it will bring to the local economy of DL for that 1 week period. And I can tell you that even after that, people would have realized that there's this business potential in this community. Even after Damba, I'll come back and invest in the community. I think we should start to look at things from that angle where we can be having, or even we can still have this form where everyone celebrates Damba in his palace. But a day should have been added, or a day would be added to the month. Say a week. Maybe we can push the Biakusi because originally Biakusi wasn't part of Damba. So we can push it a week further. Where we have a week after Damba, there's a Grand Deba. Where, You have celebrated your Damba in your palace. This is the time for all of us to come together and celebrate. I think is it Gonjaland or one of these places, that's what they do. Yes, okay. I think Yagbonwura has that celebration where after everything, you will still have the Yagbonwura Damba, where all the important people in Gonjaland will come together and still celebrate the Damba festival. Wow. Yes, so Dagbon should also try adopting that. And to foster that kind of sister relations we have with Nanu, we have with Mamprulu, with the Waala kingdom, the Moshik kingdom. We can even go beyond just organizing it amongst Dagombas
and move it to
the entire Mole Dagbon. Yes. So, for instance, this year we are celebrating
because I remember last
that particular
year,
day.
Nairi sent a delegation to Wa.
Yes, yes. So imagine that particular day we are saying that the Wana, the Yana, the Bumblana will all move to the Nairi Palace and celebrate it. Then the following year, the Yana, the Nairi, the Bumbla will move to Wana's Palace and celebrate it in that format. I mean, that would have been huge. And that kind of unity we are always craving for would have been solidified.
And it will open up for some of these, kings to have conversations of development.
Exactly.
And so how they could, come together to,
exactly.
Unite us and promote culture.
There's a lot we can do. There's a lot. And Dagbon even started with the Damba lecture series. I don't even know what happened to it. I think they did it once or twice and it has gone mute again. But some of these things where we can talk about the real development challenges facing Dagbon, we can bring them up at these lectures. The media will be around to cover it. I remember the first time Dr. Ibn Chambers, the former ECOWAS commissioner, was there. It was a big event, I think at the Modern City Hotel or so. It was big.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened to it. Probably fans. It died out. So we can actually be innovative. Like I said, Damba started in the era of Nati Tore on a very small scale. At a point, the Yana thought that, and that was Nazanjida. That's after 4 Yana. We thought that there was a need to incorporate Damba into the culture of Dagbon. So we took it. Then afterwards, Nagarba came and introduced Nadamba. So it means that we can still introduce new things as long as it will not adulterate, the original form of the Damba festival. Yes.
Okay, so I think, I don't know, as young people, as youth in the 21st century, what do you think is our role as young people who have technology, who have social media? What do you think we can do? All of those things you've, elaborated are key. But what do you think we can do in the meantime to sort of accelerate the how do you call it, the essence of Damba? For a lot of people who are not even Dagombas to kind of want to come and celebrate Damba with us.
I think that we are the future, and so first of all, we actually need to learn more about the festival, because even before we can be able to write or talk to others about to even be interested in the celebration, we need to know what it is about. So we first of all have to acquire that knowledge, and it is not difficult. These days we have a whole lot of writers. There are a whole lot of literature on Damba on the internet. You don't need to go to see a lunar or someone, even though if you can do that, it will also be good. But if you don't have that time, just go on the internet you'll find a whole lot of literature, authentic literature about Damba on the internet. So that's one. We should acquire that knowledge. Two, as youth, we should be using our social media handles to talk about, the essence of Damba, the tourism around Damba, and even the history around Damba on the social media. Once you put something on social media, 1,000 years to come, it's going to be there. So that way, we are also contributing to protecting and to saving, the history of Damba and of the Dagomba people for the future generations. And of course, you also be promoting it, right? Yes. Then, as well, as youth, we form, majority of the voter population. So we can begin to be putting pressure, talking about, and these days social media enables us to, have such conversations. If you look at the Occupy Julobi house, it started with just a tweet, then people started showing interest in it. We can also generate conversations around that. How, for instance, the tourism ministry can come in to help in not just preserving that history, but also, help us to promote the Damba festival. Unfortunately, we have a tourism minister who's from Dagbani. Yet we have seen very little from him when it comes to, helping develop the tourism industry in Dagbani. Look, there's this place we spoke about, Yual. So when you go to Yual, like I said, Yual is to the west of DLA. So when you get to DLA, you turn west. I mean, if you just get to DLA and you ask anyone, you are heading towards Yual. When you get to Yual, there is another, you move a few kilometers, about 2 or less than 2 kilometers westward again. There's a place we call Waali. It's a waterfalls. Do you know that Dagbani has a waterfalls? Yes. Yes. So there's a waterfalls there that is undeveloped.
Untapped.
Yes. And there's a whole lot of mystery around the waterfalls over there. Then there's this place there as well where the black voter meets the white voter. You see the two rivers very close, but they don't even mix up with each other.
Wow.
There's such a phenomenon over there, yet we have left it undeveloped. There's this thing we call Oxbow Lake. So when a lake or a river comes and then it meanders that way, it is located there, it is found there, but it is undeveloped. And I think in the whole country, that's where we have it.
Wow.
Yes, but it is undeveloped. There are a whole lot. If you go to Sakpole, there's a trade, slave market there where they used to bring slaves over there. There are a whole lot of potentials around these areas and even in the entire Dagbani. But unfortunately, the tourism minister who is from here has done very little, to help change our fortunes. And even when we had the year of return,
that was just what was in my mind.
The year of return, how many people, I mean, what the government deliberately do to attract people here. And I always say that, I don't know, it's my opinion. I always say that most of the slaves who were taken from the Gold Coast were Northerners.
It's not your opinion. That's the fact.
Yeah, they were Northerners.
Like majority of them.
Yes.
And I recently saw one historian say that over 80%
exactly
of them were
They were
not
from
this.
here.
Yeah.
When you see the descriptions, they were huge. You know, they were dark. You know, that kind of descriptions, it best fits here.
Yeah.
And even if you look at the roots of the slave traders, from, you know, they usually went to the upper regions, so upper east, upper west, get the slaves. There's a route through the Tongo, through
And
down
the
to
slave markets
Sapele.
are there as
Yeah,
evidence.
they are there. I mean, they are there.
In the Upper West, we have the Sankana slave
Yes.
cave. We have the how do you call it, the Salaga slave market.
So that was the
one-
route. So they
you get
take
it.
them as they are moving. They add more. So when they from the upper regions they move to the Sapele area, get the Dagbani. You know, Dagbani developed from that area. You know, the northern part of Dagbani today. That's where Dagbani started. So that's where, you know, the aboriginal Dagombas, the typical Dagombas were. So they started there. So when they move from the upper regions, they get to around Sapele, get more slaves, travel down through Tamale. Tamale was a route, then to Salaga, then I think to the Yeji area or so, then to Kintampo, and then they moved them southwards.
Yeah.
And that was the route.
And the coastal areas were actually like
they were just transit
points to
they were
even
just transit points.
There are stories that most of the, you know, people, I mean, even in the southern areas, some of them are actually mixed with our people, because those that they were sending, and I mean, some of them ran away within those territories. Actually got to marry and, you know, I mean, procreate, and, you know, they became.
I mean, is it not strange that when they took them from the Gold Coast to wherever they were taking them, they, even as slaves, couldn't speak each other's language. Why? Because they were not from the same place. If they were all coming from, say, the same place, they could speak each other's language. And over time, even though there would have been changes to the language, you still have had them speaking
and understand each other.
Exactly. You know, but they had to leave their languages and adopt new languages. You know. So, but when it comes to returning home, when it comes to people from the diaspora coming in to have a feel of what their grandparents went through, they never bring them over.
And actually, when they are coming, they are not actually coming for a befitting home or something.
No.
They are coming back to where they actually came from.
Exactly.
They want to know where they actually... And you see, you made a point earlier on that what is government doing to actually tell the right stories to these people? Because when they come, all they do is take them around the coastal areas. The best they do is send them to Kumasi to see Ashantihini, and that ends it. You know, it means that the story is not being told to them.
You know, only a few will usually travel up
exactly
north.
And there are people who have actually traced their roots to the north. Those who really wanted to know.
For instance, the Salaga slave market is said to have been one of the largest at that time in the entire, you know, West African region. Imagine. But how many, you know, people from the diaspora come down to Salaga to have a feel of it? Is it even developed? These days, I think it's a lorry park or so.
They don't even have any idea.
It's unfortunate,
and I think that is why, I mean, festivals like the Damba is significant or is important. For us to be able to use that opportunity to tell the stories, to let people know about our history, our culture, and our tradition as a people.
I mean, nobody will tell our stories for us.
Exactly.
We have to tell our own stories. So, as part of it, that's why we need to be writing more. We need to learn. When you learn something new, write about it.
Exactly.
Put it on social media. If you don't have access to, website or something, you can just put it on your own, Facebook page or Twitter page. And then you are good to go. You are preserving the history. You are changing the narrative. Because, I mean, people who are supposed to ensure that our history is not adulterated are actually
the people adulterating
the people adulterating it. So it is left for those of us who are affected by these adulterations to correct the history. And how can we do it? By research and
speaking up.
By speaking up, you know. And I know that with time, more people from Dagbon, so when I say Dagbon, Mole Dagbon, will write more on and put it in books on our history, because we have little. I mean, if you have one of the biggest writers of Dagbon history is Ratri. Ratri wasn't even a black man. Professor Edu Buahin wasn't a Dagomba man. You know, you can mention them. It's just until recently that we started having the likes of our father Ibrahim Mama begin to write on the history of Dagbon. Before that, it was written by foreigners, you know. And so, and of course, you don't expect a foreigner to tell the entire story, especially if aspects of it is going to affect his or her culture. You get it? So we need, as a people, to begin to write, start putting down some of these things. And a lot of Dagbon history is in the form of oral, you know, literature. So we can begin reaching out to these Lunse, the drummers, who are the custodians of our history, to be taking the authentic narrations from them and put them into writing. Yeah, I think that's how we as young people can also help in promoting and preserving the history around Damba.
Amazing. I hope I'll be seeing you at Damba tomorrow.
Inshallah. I'm planning on going to Yendi.
I know, right? Yeah. Okay, that's okay. Wherever you celebrate,
because we've really adulterated the celebration of Damba in Tamale. I think that one of the low points of the Damba festival, especially how it is celebrated in Damba, is the use of weapons. We, the youth, are trying to weaponize the celebration of Damba, which is not good. I mean, I don't know why you should carry a live ammunition with you to a festival like Damba.
I think that's something,
festival.
I mean, the youth should be cautioned about.
Or you carry swords. Growing up, even though we are not old, growing up, you could not have, you know, a weapon of any sort, whether it was just a small knife, a machete, or, you know, anything offensive. You couldn't have it if you were not a Sapashine. And the Sapashinema used to move with their village chiefs or their community chiefs. So when they are going, they are in uniform. They had their leader who will guide them. But these days, you just go tomorrow or tomorrow next. When you go to town, you see them. People are carrying very, very sophisticated weapons, G3s, AK-47s, pump actions. You know, what are you going to do with it? So I don't feel comfortable celebrating the festival in Tamale. I don't feel comfortable having my family, my kids going out there to celebrate the festival in town, because I think it is unsafe. You know, people don't even know how to operate these weapons.
And most of these guys are actually, you know, I mean, influenced by drugs.
They come there, they drag themselves and come there and misbehave. You know, you have someone, you know, a young person dress even more than his community chief would dress, who will also be moving with his entourage. Then they'll have their own so-called Sapashinema holding live ammunitions. When you do that, you are killing the history. You are sending people away. I know one or two people who are not Dagombas but used to love Damba, who have stopped attending it because of these things, because they cannot just put their lives in danger. You never know if you don't know how to operate the weapon. You can misfire at any time. And that's very dangerous. So I think that we as the youth look, the worst we can do, or let me say the best we can do, is to be in a traditional attire.
Yeah.
You know, you can have the takwab or something. If you want to carry a weapon, go meet your community sapashina. Tell him you want to be part of his entourage. If he thinks that you are aware of it, he would incorporate you into their arrangements, and then you'll be part of them. But to be carrying these things, it doesn't make sense. Then even after, say, 5:30 p.m., the kind of weapons you hear people firing in town, you wonder why. Are we going to a war? I mean, that alone is a very low point of the Damba festival, and sometimes you cannot even blame the chiefs because they keep talking, they issue out warnings, even the police will warn people, yet people will still come out. And because it is usually a celebration, people don't want to take stiff actions that will mar the beauty of the celebration. You get it? So we have a responsibility to preserve the festival in its original form. If we start introducing offensive things into it, we are going to kill it. And one day we'll not have Damba. And once you lose your culture, you have lost your identity.
Is there any other, because I think this particular point is a point that I've also noted, and I think that the authorities should take it seriously. Just as you said, there are a lot of people who want to go, but they are scared.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know who can, for the sake of whatever reason, just pull a gun at you or pull a knife at you,
or even by mistake.
Yes, you get it. So, but is there any other, because some of these things come with a lot of challenges, and if we don't talk about these challenges, there's no way they are going to be addressed. Aside the issue of, wielding live ammunitions and firearms, what other challenges do you see? Low points do you see about?
Dagomba say binuale ya chikubi. But sometimes, like basically, you as a young person, you don't teach your father or you don't teach the elders what is right. Yes, but I think that we have to, and when I say we, collectively as a people, we have to have a second look at how we issue out chieftaincies or titles to people. There are
because
people.
It has a way it connects to these
to the festival. Because look, if you give a criminal a title on the day of Damba, he will come out emboldened.
Display his criminality.
Exactly. But for the criminality he's involved in, to him, you will not have recognized him. So once you have recognized him and you have given him a place at your palace, then you are emboldening him. You get it? We have a lot of such cases these days, especially in the Tamale enclave. I don't want to be specific.
Of course, there's no limit.
Yes, but we have a lot of such cases. And there are some chieftaincies that or titles that we give that appear to be ridiculing our own traditional setup. If you have anyway, Yakino is my friend.
Okay.
You know Yakino.
Yeah, okay.
He's now a title holder.
I thought it was jokes.
It isn't. Even though the title that was conferred, so we have the Sambambi Nama, those titles are not really any titles. But, we should preserve our chieftaincy. Except it's a serious business, But when we begin to be issuing titles like Friday Massa, people will not take us serious. And you can imagine, me, if you give me a title, editors, Damba, na Damba Day or Biakwesi, I also go and find, if I don't get a horse, I'll get a donkey.
Relevant.
I'll get a donkey, right? Have my own,
entourage.
movement, and that way we are ridiculing our culture. We are adulterating our culture in its authentic form, and that will not be the best for us.
Wow. Thank you very much for this insightful conversation. And I really learned a lot, and I'm sure my viewers also, learned something today about Damba and all of that. And I'm sure we'll have more of these conversations and all of that.
Sure.
Thank you very much for watching. If you, didn't know anything about Damba, that's what Damba is all about. And I'm sure you'll be part, or you'll be celebrating with us on the climax of Damba, which is actually the day this video will be released. On Wednesday, the 3rd, it's actually Tuesday, right? The 3rd of October, 2023. So make sure you are
following the
Biakusi, which is actually bidding farewell to Damba. So make sure you come around. Let's make it civil. Let's make it exciting, and let's all enjoy the festival and go back home in one piece. Thanks for watching. See you in the next episode. Peace. We out.